Alright, here is a problem about systems of equations with two variables. Paul and Malia spent an afternoon at an amusement park riding the water slide and the giant Ferris wheel. At the end of the afternoon, Paul has spent $17.70 for 3 rides on the water slide and 3 rides on the Ferris wheel. Malia went on the water slide 2 times and rode the Ferris wheel 3 times for $15.55. Find the cost of each activity. So the first thing that you want to do is identify your unknowns. So obviously there are 2 unknowns. I'm going to say F is going to be the cost of the Ferris wheel. And then we can say W would be the cost of the water slide. Okay, you could certainly use X and Y here. This just makes more sense. Okay, pick the letters that make more sense to you. It's a lot easier to deal with. Okay. All right, then you're going to talk about what is it that we know. So at the end of the afternoon, Paul has spent $17.70, 3 rides on the water slide, 3 rides on the Ferris wheel. There's your math equation right there. So a total of $17.70 for 3W and 3F. Okay, so that's what's interesting to think about. So that's going to give us our next equation. So let's go ahead and do that. 3 rides on the water slide and 3 rides on the Ferris wheel, and he spent a total of $17.70. And then we can do the same thing. Go backwards and look at this one more time. We can talk about then for Malia went on the water slide 2 times and the Ferris wheel 3 times for a total of $15.55. So that'll give us our next equation. So only 2 times on the water slide, 3 times on the Ferris wheel, and she spent a total of $15.55. Make that decimal point more clear. Okay, so those are our 2 equations, and then we have to go ahead and solve these. So I'm going to go ahead and solve this by process of elimination. If you remember when we had systems of 2 equations, you either did substitution or elimination. Okay, 2 different ways to get the same answer. This example, I'll go ahead and do elimination. So what I'm going to do is you can actually multiply the first equation, multiply this by -1. Okay, if we multiply that first equation by -1, let me show you why I did that. If I did that and then rewrote it again, right below, I'd get -3W, -3F equals -1770. Okay, now notice the reason that we did this is because now you can look, this is a +3, this is a -3. Those can now eliminate. So again, what we're going to do is eliminate one of the variables. It just makes it a lot easier. Alright, so what you can do next is go ahead and add the 2 variables, the 2 equations. Okay. So I'm going to add those 2 equations. Okay, my second equation plus my new first equation. If you do that, you'll have 2W minus 3W, which will give me a -1W, so -1W. Okay. The 3F and the -3F cancel. Then you have your equal sign. So then you have your 1555 minus your 1770, and that's going to give you -2.15. Okay. And then solve for W, so I'm going to divide both sides by -1, and I will get W equals +215. Okay. So right there, that was W, we said previously, was the cost of the water slide. So this is the cost of the water slide. Don't forget to give this a units. Okay, this is in dollars. We were talking about dollars before. So that gives me the cost of the water slide right there. The next problem, though, would be to find the cost of the Ferris wheel. So we can go back and look at any 2 of our original equations, any of the first 2 original. Okay, so let me put a little star next to those 2. Those were our original equations. Pick any one. It doesn't matter. It certainly doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and pick the first one just because that's kind of a default, because that will always work, so it's easier to just write down the first one that you see. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on the next page, rewrite it. I had 3W plus 3F equals 1770. All right, and then we can go ahead and plug in what we know. We know from the previous, what we just solved was that W is $2.15. And what we're trying to solve for now is the cost of the Ferris wheel, and that's what F is. That's what we're trying to solve for next. And then you can solve for this. And then you're just going to simplify. I've got 3 times $2.15, and that will give us $6.45. So 6.45, supposed to be 6, plus 3F equals 1770, and then you just go through the motions of trying to solve for your unknown. So I'll subtract 645 from both sides. Alright, so then I've got, let me get that blue back here. So 3F equals, sorry about that. Alright, so we've got $17.70 minus $6.45, and that's going to give us the $11.25. And then last but not least, you're trying to solve for F, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So when you divide both sides by 3, you will get, if I can find my blue again, F equals $3.75. Okay, and again, this was the cost of the Ferris wheel because that's what F is. So this is the cost of the Ferris wheel. Alright, so we've got two different answers because this question was asking for two different unknowns. What was the cost of the Ferris wheel? $3.75. And then what was the cost of the water slide? And that was $2.15. So in fact, both of those are the answer. Ta-da!